The Niger River is the principal river of West Africa, extending about 4,180 kilometers into the Gulf of Guinea in the Atlantic Ocean. The Niger is the third longest river in Africa, exceeded only by the Nile and the Congo River. Its main tributary is the Benue River. The Niger has different names in the different languages of the region. The earliest use of the name, Niger, for the river is by Leo Africanus in his Della Descrizione dell'Africa e del Cos Notabili che Ivi sono, published in Italian in 1550. The name may come from Berber phrase Gur en Gur, meaning river of rivers. As Timbuktu was the southern end of the principal trans-Saharan trade route to the western Mediterranean, it was the source of most European knowledge of the region. Medieval European maps applied the name Niger to the middle reaches of the river in modern Mali, but Kora to the lower reaches in modern Nigeria, as these were not recognized at the time as being the same river. When European colonial powers began to send ships along the west coast of Africa in the 16th and 17th centuries, the Senegal River was often postulated to be the seaward end of the Niger. The Niger Delta, pouring into the Atlantic through mangrove swamps and thousands of distributaries along more than 160 kilometers, was thought to be coastal wetlands. It was only with the 18th century visits of Mungo Park, who traveled down the Niger River and visited the great Sahelian empire of his day, that Europeans correctly identified the course of the Niger and extended the name to its entire course. The modern nations of Nigeria and Niger take their names from the river, marking contesting national claims by colonial powers of the upper, lower, and middle Niger River basin during the scramble for Africa at the end of the 19th century. The Niger River is a relatively clear river, carrying only a tenth as much sediment as the Nile because the Niger's headwaters lie in ancient rocks that provide little silt. Like the Nile, the Niger floods yearly. This begins in September, peaks in November, and finishes by May. An unusual feature of the river is the inner Niger Delta, which forms where its gradient suddenly decreases. The result is a region of braided streams, marshes, and large lakes. The seasonal floods make the delta extremely productive for both fishing and agriculture. The river loses nearly two-thirds of its potential flow in the inner delta between Sego and Timbuktu to seepage and evaporation. All the water from the Bani River, which flows into the delta at Moti, does not compensate for the losses. The average loss is estimated at 31 km 3 per year but varies considerably between years. The river is then joined by various tributaries but also loses more water to evaporation. The quantity of water entering Nigeria measured in Yola was estimated at 25 km 3 per year before the 1980s and at 13.5 km 3 per year during the 1980s. The most important tributary is the Benue River, which merges with the Niger at Lokoja in Nigeria. The total volume of tributaries in Nigeria is 6 times higher than the inflow into Nigeria, with a flow near the mouth of the river standing at 177.0 km 3 per year before the 1980s and 147.3 km 3 per year during the 1980s. The Niger takes one of the most unusual routes of any major river, a boomerang shape that baffled geographers for 2 centuries. Its source and heads southeast to the Gulf of Guinea. This strange geography apparently came about because the Niger River is 2 ancient rivers joined together. The Upper Niger, from the source west of Timbuktu to the bend in the current river near Timbuktu, once emptied into a now dry lake to the east-northeast of Timbuktu, while the Lower Niger started to the south of Timbuktu and flowed south into the Gulf of Guinea. Over time, upstream erosion by the Lower Niger resulted in stream capture of the Upper Niger by the Lower Niger. The northern part of the river, known as the Niger Bend, is an important area because it is the major river and source of water in that part of the Sahara. This made it the focal point of trade across the Western Sahara and the center of the Sahelian kingdoms of Mali and Gao. The surrounding Niger River basin is one of the distinct physiographic sections of the Sudan province, which in turn is part of the larger African Massif Physiographic Division. at the end of the African humid period around 5,500 years before present. The modern Sahara Desert, once a savanna, underwent desertification. As plant species sharply declined, humans migrated to the fertile Niger River bend region, with abundant resources including plants for grazing and fish. Like in the Fertile Crescent, many food crops were domesticated in the Niger River region, including yams, African rice, and pearl millet. The Sahara aridification may have triggered, or at least accelerated, these domestications. Agriculture, as well as fishing and animal husbandry, led to the rise of settlements like Gen Geno in the inner